Welcome to Conversations with HGM. I'm Lisa Harris-Jones.
And I'm Barry Glassman.
And today we have Senator Cory Mccray, who represents the 45th District in Baltimore City. Thanks for joining us.
Thankful for being here.
So you are on one of the most important committees in the Maryland Senate, that being budget and tax. You had a big year, we had a deficit, we worked through it. What's going to happen this upcoming year? Are we okay? Anything that you can share?
I think that one of the challenges is with this new federal budget, it's going to have implications for states, not just the state of Maryland, but across the country. And we'll be dealing with issues such as SNAP. We'll be dealing with issues such as Medicaid. We're kind of getting some level of interim direction or how challenging it may be, but those are the things that we'll have to deal with when session comes up.
So Maryland is so close to DC, and with federal workers losing jobs, with the new policy with immigration, how's that affected the work that you do on a constituent level?
When we think about like the income that's going to be coming into the revenue generation that comes into the state of Maryland, obviously that level and influx, because of its proximity to DC, is going to be very challenging for this for the state of Maryland. And what we'll have to do is, as we get the revenue numbers coming in, we'll get some level of a better understanding. But more importantly, as you talked about immigration, I look at the pastor that was just taken by ICE in the rally that was just held at the city of Baltimore, making sure that I was supportive of that, but also making sure that community know that they have someone that has their back as we face these challenges. Lisa, this is the most important time for us to collectively think about what are our values, what are our priorities from that standpoint, and that's what I hope to communicate to my constituents.
Very good. And just to bring it a little bit closer to home, I know you're very passionate about apprenticeships, and I've been excited about your new book that's available on Amazon. The Apprenticeship That Saved My Life. And I just want you to talk a little bit about that, the opportunities for this next generation as the economy changes to really learn skills beyond thinking about having to go to a graduate school and so forth.
So Barry, I appreciate you raising that issue. I tell folks that I'm born and raised in the city of Baltimore. I graduated from Fairmont Harford, right there on Harford and 25th. But more importantly, I think about that moment in time where my life trajectory then shifts. I tell folks that I had a mom that didn't give up on her son. It was actually my mom that reached out to the Maryland Department of Labor and said, send me every apprenticeship program in the state of Maryland. And Barry, when I reflect and think about this moment, I think about like how limited I was from an access and exposure standpoint. I think about not knowing anything outside of my neighborhood. And unfortunately, a lot of our young folks are demonstrating or going through the same thing. So when I think about this book, I poured my heart and my soul of my lived experiences and tried to tell a story in reference to like, here's some of the things that I wish that I knew as I was going through this. Here's some of the things that I think that I did well. For the parents, the guidance counselors, the mentors, the teachers, they may not know, like my mom didn't know, but to reach out to that Maryland Department of Labor because they are the hub that have all of these registered apprenticeship programs. And then once you find it, how are we preparing? I found out after high school. But how are we preparing people to critically think about this in middle school, in high school, as they're going through this? Because the most important thing that we can do, Barry, if they want to be a doctor, put them around that experience. If they want to be a lawyer, put them around that experience. But the same thing, if they want to be an electrician, a plumber, a roofer, things of that nature, we have to build these experiences so that they can critically think about it.
Yeah. And the book is kind of a tool for folks to learn to be better mentors, better counselors, as a tool, a teaching tool too.
So I call it like a guidebook, Lisa. I think of it like a blueprint. When we think about the 1, 2, 3s or the ABCs, most of the folks that's directing or giving direction to our young folks, our guidance counselors, I'm pretty sure that they probably went through some level of a 4-year university or community college to hold that position. When you think about some of the mentors, the teachers, so most people know that the apprenticeship word is a good thing, but anything outside of that is when it becomes perplexing and challenging, and that's what it's supposed to do. Bring it back to a granular level understanding, a fundamental, the way you can say, oh, okay, this is what it's like. Here's how long it takes. Here's why wage structures are important. What did you gravitate when you said, hey, I wanted to go through this experience? It was the wages for me. I was young, I wanted to make money, and you can show me, hey, year 2, you'll be at this, year 3, you'll be at this, year 4, you'll be at this. And then that was the direction that I ended up going.
You know, what I love about you is when we bring young men to Annapolis, or even young boys that are, still in elementary or middle school, we have to come past your office because you have a story, and you share your story. And I've seen young men listen to you and share where you came from and where you are now. And actually, there have been some that, because of meeting you and learning what you went through to get to where you are, that gave them the ability to, to work hard and have an understanding that they can be whoever they want to be, as long as they put their mind to it. And also, what you said, figuring out how to access those resources. Tell me about your work with, the young children here, and not just Baltimore, but I see you do that work throughout the state.
You know, Lisa, I reflect on this and I realize that I got across the finish line. And when I look back to my left and my right, it's a number of my peers, a number of folks that I grew up with that aren't that lucky, that be able to enjoy the same level of opportunities. But the most important thing that we have, the most important treasure that we have, are these young scholars. And the more that we spend time with them, reminding them how gifted they are, how much of a blessing that they are, but they have the most important asset, which is time. And the more that we can pour our knowledge capture into them, Barry, we're helping them to be able to cheat time. And I think about access, I think about exposure, so that's why I love spending time around them. I thank you for bringing them around, especially these folks. It's important to see people that look like them, that's demonstrating the behavior, because that's not always a given.
I also think it's education to teachers, to parents, because there's, you go to school and everyone, from the time that you walk in as in kindergarten and then first grade, where are you going to go to college? And there's this big focus on, if you're going to do well in life, you have to go to college. But not everybody is meant to go to college. And there's my son, for example. He spent some time in college, but he loves construction. He grew up with it. His father taught him the trade. Now he's an entrepreneur. He just started his company, and he is loving it, and he's doing very well at it. And so I think society has to learn how to understand that success doesn't mean college. Success is identifying what you're good at, figuring out how to be better at it, and then putting your time and the passion into it. That's success. It doesn't have to be graduating from college.
I processed that a good bit, Lisa, and I'm glad that you bring that up. I just wanted something to do. And I didn't want to make minimum wage doing it. And I didn't know about electrical work. I didn't know how to wire a switch. I didn't know how to wire lights. But the ability to be able to see the monetary gain, like that's what then shifts the trajectory. As these young folks are trying to figure it out, you see your mom struggling, you see your dad struggling, trying to put these puzzles together, and you don't want to be a burden. Because I could see it laid out over a 4-5 year structure, I actually thought they were hustling me. I'm like, you're going to tell me that you're going to pay this wage, and all I have to do is show up, have a good attitude, and make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to. And that's what drove me. Thinking about like healthcare, thinking about retirement and things of that nature was second mind, because I didn't have children at the time. But this is what I want young folks to start thinking about. I'm at a point in life where I just want to do what I love too. So like, if you are thinking about exploring it, why not put them in that space? Here's one more example. When you speak to that point about universities and community colleges, I remember that we do bus tours to universities and college. And I asked the question, why are we not doing the same concept for apprenticeships? Why aren't we touring electrical sites? Why aren't we touring carpenters? Why aren't we touring roofers? And you know who listened? College Bound. They said that, hey, we're focused on this arena, but we want to make sure that we do this. And we've been doing that for the last 5-6 years, taking the same concepts that we do for community colleges and 4-year universities. They're great, but let's make sure we apply them to apprenticeship.
That's true. Well, I think I know the answer to this, but my final question was, what do you still enjoy about public service? Because budget and tax, you just went through probably one of the roughest sessions in the last 20 years. But there's got to be something, and I guess it's your work with young people and apprenticeships.
I think our young people are so important, but I love first honor and history. So when you think about those folks that are first, those folks that are shoulders that we're standing on, the foundation that was set. But more importantly, especially Lisa, you being from the city, I think about those communities that have been left out, not for 1 year, not for 5 years, but for decades. And watching places like Darley Park do well, watching places like Johnson Square do well, and making sure that they're now sitting at that table. There's a $60+ billion budget. I'll repeat that, a $60+ billion budget for the state of Maryland, and making sure that communities that have been historically left behind sit at that table. I'm telling you, that level of love is unspeakable, being able to have the humble privilege of being able to make that happen.
Well, thank you.
Thank you all.
You do so much work, and the idea that you took time to come and talk to us, we really appreciate that.
Now, I just want to lean in and say thank you both for your leadership. I tell you, I look at both of you all like mentors, serving as a county exec, serving in the body of the legislature, being a number of glass ceilings, a number of firsts. I just say thank you for this opportunity, but more importantly, the things that you all do to pour into me.
I appreciate you.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you for joining us with Conversations with HJM.